So we talked about all the forms. Now we're going to step into the realm of regulations. Yes, regulations can be very boring. I get it. That's why we created this video to just give you a high level overview of the regulations that I looked into and I thought was useful, and I wanted to share them with you. So if you just want the basics, like straight up basics, this is the video for you. Now, with the regulations, the reason why we're presenting the regulations here is because it helps you to understand the total process. The objectives of this video is to present these regulations to you so this way you can get advanced knowledge on the total process and not go into the process not knowing really what's going on or what's going to happen. The other reason why this video is important and this module is important is because in the event that you disagree with some of the findings at either one of the stages of the MEB or the PEB or even the formal at that matter, you know what to expect. So you are prepared to go through the process and you would know what to expect and how to really present your case. In other words, how to help the lawyer help you. So in the first regulation is the DOD instruction number 1332.18. This is the overarching Department of Defense instruction for how all of the services are going to perform the disability evaluation system. Of note, within this program or within this instruction, there is a lot of detail about the overall view of the process, Peblo, what the Peblo does, the MSC liaison, what the MSC liaison does. So it's good background information to kind of show where the Army, the Navy, the Marines, and Space Force, where they would get their instructions from for the disability evaluation system. But here now we get into the Army side of the house. And this is the regulation that I found very helpful for me to understand the process from the Army lens. And so this is AR 635-40. This is the disability evaluation for retention, retirement, or separation. Within AR 635-40, it drills down into the actual steps and phases of the medical evaluation board. And then this is where it tells you what your options are as a soldier with respect to requesting an independent medical review or a rebuttal inside of the MEB phase, or requesting a formal inside of the physical evaluation board phase. So this is a very important document because now you will be able to understand the steps and be able to communicate effectively with your lawyer because you understand how the regulations work. My advice and tip is try to review this while you're in the MRDP phase because things are going to happen so fast you may not have a lot of time to really do all this research. That's why I'm providing the research up front for you. The next key regulation is AR 40-501, the standards of medical fitness. Now, this is the regulation that the Army is going to use to determine if your condition meets the definition of failing inside of this regulation. So, in other words, the purpose of going through the MEB side, the purpose of going through the medical evaluation board is we've taking a look at what you have in your medical records from the recovery phase in the MRDP, you've reached that point within the MRDP. Now, let's go through the exam, right? You go through a C&P exam, and let's get the results of that exam and see from an outside view, not from a Department of Defense, but from the VA. And let's take a look and see if that diagnosis meets the definition of failing relative to what your exam is showing you. So this is how they match up and say, yep, it looks like it meets that definition. So let's forward you over to the PEB. So this has all of the diagnoses that are in there. They're broken down by muscles, they're broken down by bones, they're broken down by issues with the heart, issues with the lungs. Every behavioral health, every body system is in there. Take a look at this specific regulation and compare your medical story, your medical history against this key regulation. Okay, so this is really, I spent a lot of time on this because this is a huge one. The next one is AR 40 502, medical readiness. And in AR 40 502, it really talks about profiles. The key points that I found interesting was profiles, as well as the extensions for those profiles, but also within section 4, I believe, on page 18, it talks about documentary of medical evidence. And you know, I love talking about medical evidence. If it's there, it's there. If it's documented, it happened. So as a nurse, what we would say is if it's not documented, it didn't happen. You can say all you want what you believe is going on, but if it's not documented, it didn't happen. And the same thing here, because the medical board is that medical evidence experience. And the key point here is go and get seen, take care of yourself, get everything documented. So now on the VA side, here's one of the key regulations. CFR 38 Part 4. You hear everyone talk about CFR 38 Part 4. This is it. Okay. CFR 38 Part 4, Book C has a schedule for all of the rating disabilities broken down by the system. And they have inside of this regulation the criteria and a rating. So, for example, let's take a common situation knee, right? So, if your knee was failing or you had problems with your knee, what does CFR 38 Part 4 say about it? It may say you've been to the doctor one time. So, if you've been to the doctor one time or less than 3 times, it's 10%. You say, for example, if you've been to the doctor 6 times, it's 20%. This is just hypothetical. This is where the ratings come in. And this is where they match the rating based upon what they saw in your C&P exam. Now, here is the inside view of how the VA, the adjudicator meaning the person who's going to evaluate, not the C&P examiner, not the doctor, but the person who's actually going to take that information at the VA and look at the exam and assign a rating to you. This manual, M21 1, has a section in there specifically for the integrated disability evaluation system. There's all these different parts here. One of the main parts is really talking about medical evidence and how they and what they used for medical evidence. And so I want you to be able to be familiar with this. This way, you know what they're going to be looking for, and you can provide it for them when you are filing 635-8 separation and processing document. Some of the key pieces within this regulation that I've found interesting was Chapter 6. Chapter 6 speaks directly to the integrated disability evaluation system. Okay. One of the things there is it can answer a lot of the questions that I see online, such as, hey, if I'm going to be promoted, if I'm on the promotions list, how does this med board impact me? It's in there. Or, hey, when can I use my accrued leave? Or am I authorized permissive TDY? Things like that. When am I supposed to get my separation orders? All of those answers are within this regulation in Chapter 6. So take a look at that and just get yourself equipped, and you'll square yourself away. All right, that's enough nerd talk for this module. I'll see you in the next.